Let's get more in depth on today's Apple announcement. How will whatever new products Steve Jobs & Co. announces help his company boost profits? Per Lindberg is an analyst at MF Global in London. He has a sell rating on the stock. And Per, let's start with what exactly you think Apple is likely to unveil today and what it won't.
The trend towards touch menu interfaces and also more video capability will probably continue with the iPod lineup later today. We could also expect more functionality, perhaps digital radio included in the iPod, and perhaps further down the line GPS navigation capability as well.
All part of the iPod. What will it not introduce?
I'm sorry, what will it not introduce?
Yes. In terms of things that people might have been expecting. I remember reading in your note you were talking about a tablet, for instance.
I haven't mentioned a tablet. I think tablets or an area where Apple, I think, will move eventually will be in the gaming domain and perhaps take on the likes of Sony and Nintendo there. That I think is a business area which would suit Apple quite well, given its skills in operating systems, applications, and also its strong fan club amongst the youth.
Okay.
So that's an area where I think Apple will move eventually when it thinks the product capabilities, the product portfolio is good enough.
Now, the iPod only makes up about 18% of Apple's revenue compared with, say, 34% some 3 years ago. Why not roll out updates of its bigger hits like the iPhone or the Macintosh?
Well, they will come at subsequent phases. I think today we have the iPod Day, and later we will see new Mac lineups, and traditionally we get the new iPhones in the middle of the summer, or in the middle of the summer. We should mention also that the iPod share of revenue is actually even less than the figure that you quoted. The reason being that Apple is adopting quite a conservative accounting policy to iPhone revenues. So the iPod share of the total is actually further down in percentages, and that will shrink further as the iPhone being basically a cell phone plus an iPod inside is increasingly cannibalizing, crowding out the iPod, and that is an issue that Apple will have to tackle. I think this will boil down to more severe price pressure, and also that the iPod will not be able to command the margin that we have seen in the past.
Very quickly here, you're a part of the minority. There are only 2 cells on the stock, and you have one of them. Why is that?
Well, I mean, statistically, half the analysts should have a sell rating on the stock, and the other half should have a buy. If you think about it, half the analysts should be on average below the consensus forecast, and the other half should be above. So I think it's rather the other category that have to explain how on earth 95% of all ratings are buy.
Okay.
I believe that Apple will not be able to meet long-term earnings expectations, and I believe competition will intensify.
Okay. Thank you so much. We've been speaking with Per Lindberg of MF Global in London.